Hello and welcome to News 9. I'm Aditya Raj Kaul and you're watching The Diplomat. India and Poland are marking 70 years of their diplomatic ties in 2024. In fact, Prime Minister Narendra Modi became the first Indian Prime Minister to visit Poland in a span of 45 years recently in 2024 itself. The entire cooperation and bilateral ties between India and Poland have been elevated to a strategic partnership. How has that happened and what is the future looking like? Joining us now to discuss this is the Polish Chargé Affairs in New Delhi, Sebastian Domżalski. Hello.
Good morning.
Very warm welcome.
Very warm welcome. Let me welcome you to this beautiful residence.
Thank you.
Polish residence, and
Thank you.
also historic house of where Dr. Ambedkar used to live.
Wonderful.
And he also, the Indian Constitution that we will celebrate the 75th anniversary was also prepared here and supposedly also signed here. So
Wonderful. So I want to begin by asking you, about your experience in India. You've been here for more than a year now. Different cultures, different languages. Of course, the hard weather conditions in Delhi. How's the experience been like?
in fact, to be honest, my relationship with India is much longer. I've been coming to this country for last, I think, almost 25 years. 25 years, and I've also served in India before.
I see.
I spent 5 years in Delhi working as head of economic section and deputy head of mission.
I see.
So now, last year I joined in a slightly different capacity, heading the Polish embassy. I have a special relationship with India. In fact, my two daughters were born in this country.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes,
Very nice.
So I can jokingly say that I have two Indian daughters, blonde Indian daughters, but
So a personal and an emotional connection
yes,
as
indeed,
well.
indeed.
So, why don't I ask you about Prime Minister Modi's visit to Poland? You were a significant part of that entire process. The elevation of the ties to the strategic level, how significant is that during the time when Prime Minister Modi actually was there? And what does this say about the current ties between India and Poland?
I think this was a very important visit. So in Hindi we could say that Modi ki Poland mein yatra bahut zaruri hai.
Ji.
As I said, we elevated diplomatic relations, as you said, diplomatic relations to strategic partnership level. This was the first visit of Indian Prime Minister in Poland since 1979. So first visit in 45 years. Amazing, something amazing when you realize that there was no visit of Indian Prime Minister to Poland for almost 5 decades.
Right.
Personally, I can say that when the previous Indian Prime Minister visited Poland, I was not born myself. So for me, it was a personal thing. But of course, with this visit, we are opening a new chapter, Nai Shuruat, so to say, and it's a new beginning. So we are looking for ways to foster bilateral relations, and this visit also encapsulates something that we've been telling each other, Poland and India, for a long time. For the last 30-40 years, both of our countries have evolved and developed and have changed also. So you had amazing progress here in India, which I also witnessed myself. A lot of Pragati is there. Even I visited Pragati Maidan yesterday. This is the best proof of Pragati that you have in India.
Yes.
But there was also a lot of development that happened in Poland over the last 30 years. In fact, our GDP increased by 10 times. So something amazing over the last 35 years, 10 times bigger economy that we have in Poland. And this is also the importance of both regions, Central Europe as a region, and European Union, and India and South Asia on the other hand.
Prime Minister Modi also mentioned about solutions cannot be found on the battlefield. He was in Ukraine after his Poland visit, and before that he was in Russia. He told Putin that, we are against aggression, we are against any kind of, killing of the innocents, bombing hospitals. But what do you think about India's rising economy and India's global stature, especially in brokering peace when it comes to Prime Minister Modi and his call of this is not an era of war and solutions cannot be found in a battlefield?
Listen, the importance of visit to Poland, as you rightly said, was also light also in this. The Prime Minister Modi decided to combine the visit to Poland with a visit to Ukraine.
Yes.
This was a very powerful signal. This was a powerful signal for Ukraine, of course, signal about increased cooperation and importance of Ukraine and the situation in Ukraine to India. This was also a powerful signal to Europe, Central Europe especially, that India is interested in playing a role in this situation. And also important signal to Russia, also important signal to India and an Indian domestic audience, that this not only about growing importance of India, but also about growing interest.
Right.
And of course, situation in Ukraine and Russian aggression against Ukraine might be seen as a regional conflict, but in fact, it's not a regional one. If it's a regional one, it has global consequences, and these are consequences that I felt also here in India. And are understood here. World is becoming more and more interconnected, and what is happening in Ukraine or Russia, it has can influence situation in other parts of the world. So India, with its growing importance and rising role, has big stakes here, and also Prime Minister Modi understands that. With his he's a man of great experience. He's been Prime Minister for last more than 10 years.
Yes.
He knows world leaders, and he knows how to interact with them. And he's been in constant touch with President Zelensky, with President Biden, also visiting Russia. He will be planning a visit to, as I understand, there'll be another visit to Russia, to Kazan very, very soon. And this also be an important moment and an opportunity to talk with the Russian leader and discuss the situation and pass a message, again, a message that this is not an era of war, not an era, this is a time for peace, and we don't need another global conflict unraveling. Right. And in fact, President Putin could stop this war very, very, very quickly. Just has to withdraw its troops from Ukraine, yes, and fulfill some other commitments. But.
So one conflict to another, we saw how the Israel and Gaza conflict, or should I say Israel's war against Hamas and Hezbollah, and has continued over the last 1 year. We also saw UN peacekeepers being targeted very recently in southern Lebanon. In fact, Poland, with other countries, took the lead to come out with a statement which was now joined by India as well. How significant is this? Because India is also one of the largest contributors to the UN peacekeepers. You would remember that a few months back, Indian peacekeeper was killed in Gaza as well. So how significant is India joining Poland's, initiative? And what does this say about, the foreign policies and perhaps shared vision, coming together?
You see, this is yet another proof of increased cooperation between Poland and India, increased opportunities, and increased interconnectivity of the global affairs. In fact, you're right. We proposed in New York. We proposed that we came up with an initiative, a joint statement that was initially joined by 34 countries, commenting on the situation in southern Lebanon. And in fact, India also aligned with this statement. So this was very significant, as we have we are also, as is India, contributing to UNIFIL, so the UN peacekeepers forces in Lebanon, and safeguarding their security and security and safety there in the region is of paramount importance. These UNIFIL forces, they have an important role to play in securing lasting peace in the region.
I see. Coming back to India-Poland ties, I want to begin with the soft power. One of the most significant aspects of the relationship is, of course, the cultural ties, the people-to-people contact. And, you know, I discovered about Polish Indologists doing so much research for decades together on India, you know, learning the Sanskrit language, understanding, translating, and conveying Sanskrit and its, you know, ethos to the entire world. How important is that? Prime Minister, in fact, also interacted with some of them who spoke perhaps fluent Hindi and Sanskrit. And I would imagine that more than some of the universities in India, those Indologists are doing much more research in Polish universities.
Yes, in fact, this is something surprising that not that many people are aware of. But we have a very old Sanskrit chair, more than 100 years old, in the established in the 19th century, and quite a few Indology centers in Poland. And some of our eminent Indologists were in fact awarded by the highest state awards by Indian leaders. Some of them also resided in this building,
wow,
being serving as ambassadors to India.
Right.
This is one of the persons that Prime Minister Modi met during his visit to Poland. And in fact, this is even more striking when you realize that that the Sanskrit chair in Poland, or Indian languages, were taught in Poland in the 19th century. Mm-hmm. And knowing history of Poland, you will understand that there was no Poland at that time.
Right.
So even though, you know, we had to fight for our own independence, we had to fight for our own survival. Right. We still try to learn about other cultures and build bridges. Mm-hmm. And you know, we believe that in this saying, "Hamari Sanskriti, Hamari Shakti." Yes. So here is the way culture can be a best bridge, and while you have to preserve your own culture, it's very important to understand others, because in the end, this is what is important. And right. One thing I wanted to add here, that in fact we are having a number of universities. There is a number of universities teaching Hindi in Poland, but there is also a Polish language course here at Delhi University, and I think it was not more than a month ago where we celebrated the 55th anniversary of that language course here in Delhi, which serves an important introduction course to Poland. And you know, after Prime Minister Modi, we see a growing interest in Polish language. And I hope that in the near future we could open a new courses at some other universities in Calcutta, Bengaluru and Hyderabad that are interested in introducing Polish language.
Well, that's incredible. I must say that your Hindi has really picked up, and you know, you can be much more fluent than me in speaking Hindi. Also, you know, I recollect now that my classmate from school, who's based in London, Miru Teku, actually married a Polish girl a few years ago. And now, you know, just as a prank, they started a YouTube channel, and it became Indo-Polish Connection. And now hundreds and thousands of followers are tracking that India and Poland. So soft power is really incredible. But I want to bring you to another foundation of India and Poland, and that is the good Maharaja. You know, why don't you share with our viewers who may not be aware as much about the good Maharaja Jam Sahab and his contribution of saving the lives and giving shelter to over 1,000 Polish children during World War II. How important is that as a foundation remembered by people in Poland? And what does this say about the foundation of the relationship?
Maybe before Jam Sahib, I can quickly comment on what you just said about this couple, in the Polish couple. In fact, there is more examples of this kind of collaboration and cooperation. You know, for a long time we've been like India, we've been an immigrant country. Only recently we became an immigrant country. So there is a lot of Polish people all over the world. Right. And you know, I joke again, jokingly, I tend to say that it's not only Punjabis and potatoes that are found everywhere, but also Poles. Right. So so you very often meet Polish Indian couples, and when you ask them where they met, it's not India, not Poland, but it's United Kingdom, US, and this kind of relationship, they flourish. Some of them move to India, some of them move to Poland, some decide to stay where they met. And we also here in Delhi we have a number of couples, Indo-Polish couples, and one of them runs restaurants. So if you would like to try Polish food, Polish kana, you can go to that place and order some really proper, good Polish pierogi, Polish dumplings that will be there.
Would love to.
And it's amazing what they offer. So I hope next time I can host you for some
That'll be an honor.
not only Indian kana but Polish food, Polish cuisine. But this was just a minor comment on Jam Saheb. In fact, as you know, it's not the only story, the beautiful story history in the history books of Indo-Polish cooperation, and were amazing. I think this Prime Minister's Modi visit to Poland was an exceptional opportunity to highlight these stories. Jam Saheb story is one story that is there from the Second World War, when the Indian Maharaja Jamnagar, hearing about Polish orphans fleeing atrocities and war in the Soviet Union, decided to shelter them and offer them home. Opened his own estate for them, and he famously said, "As you have no father, I will become your father.
Right.
I will be one." And he was, referred to as Bapu. Them. So he opened a school for them. They stayed 4 years. Some of them decided to stay in India after that. Some of them migrated away. We also, one of the dancers, Bharatanatyam dancers, is a granddaughter of the Maharaja children, as we call them, good Maharaja children. And in fact, Jam Saheb is better known in Poland as Good Maharaja, or Dobry Maharaja. It's also Prime Minister Modi referred to him in Polish. And we in Warsaw, we have schools named after him. And now there will be a scholarship that was established by Prime Minister Modi to commemorate what Jam Saheb did. So every year 20 Polish children, as I understand, and students will visit India and learn more about this beautiful, amazing country. This is one thing. We are also trying to promote the story. Next month we will be opening an exhibition here in Delhi, and then it will travel to Gujarat, home state of Prime Minister Modi. So from this perspective, this story is even closer to the heart of the Prime Minister, because he knows it very well. So we will move it to Jamnagar, and then it might travel to some other cities also.
Incredible. Since you mentioned Gujarat, and it came to my mind about Kashmir and the couple that I mentioned, the Indo-Polish connection. The man in that, my friend from school, Miru Teku, is also from Kashmir, and I am from Kashmir. So I have to ask you this, because we have exchanged notes. How was your visit to Kashmir? Because we don't see many diplomats really going there. But in the recent times, a lot of diplomats from elections to etc. have visited. But from the tourism point of view, from commute point of view, and feeling the cultural vibe and connectivity, how was your experience?
In fact, as I told you, I lived in India for 5 years. Before that, I traveled extensively. Also during my stay, I traveled extensively. I visited almost all the Indian states at that time. And but 10-15 years ago, the situation in Kashmir was not that stable. So I managed to visit Kashmir only once. And since coming back, I really wanted to go back and visit Kashmir again, as I've seen pictures and of course know a lot about the beauty of the region. And in fact, talking about 10-15 years ago, and there is another connection between Poland and India and Kashmir. That famous movie Fana. It was shot about Kajol, with Kajol and Amir Khan. It was shot where?
I think in the Kashmir Valley? And
No,
Poland?
it wasn't shot
Poland.
in Kashmir because at that time the crew couldn't go to Kashmir, so
So-
they went to Poland.
Amazing.
Because this is how beautiful, I mean, how similar this Polish Tatras and beautiful Tatras are, but they're of course much smaller and not as high. But they couldn't go to Kashmir, so they went to shoot it in Poland, and not that many people know that. In fact, but nowadays the situation seems to be more stable. And since my arrival, I actually visited Kashmir 3 times already. So twice in autumn and once in winter. So I'm also a avid skier, and Gulmarg and is a famous ski destination for mountain skiers. But I also love trekking, and Kashmir offers great opportunities for trekking.
Yes.
And also horse trekking. So I do feel that you can discover a lot, and the connectivity there now with the airport in Srinagar and so many flights, it's so easy. I think it's one of the easiest hill station escapes from Delhi.
Well, quite incredible. You know, should I call you an honorary Indian or should I call you an honorary Kashmiri already with the amount of visits you've made as a diplomat? I don't think this can be compared to any other diplomat in India, but great that you did. Coming to, again, the brass tacks of the relationship about trade and economic cooperation, how do you see the future when it comes to technology, agriculture, renewable energy, because there's a lot of emphasis on climate change and green energy? How can India and Poland contribute more? Because I believe there is still trade deficit in Poland's favor.
It's Indian favor.
In India's favor? Okay,
Yes.
Thanks for correcting me. But how do you enhance that in future?
You're very right. Economic cooperation was one of the most important pillars of the visit of Indian Prime Minister Modi to Poland, and this was discussed extensively with our Prime Minister Tusk. It's one of the pillars. If you talk about pillars, you could say that this was economic cooperation, so Vikas, Takaniki, but of course Raksha and Suraksha were also very important. But in economic cooperation, as you rightly pointed out, we are looking at different sectors at the moment, and trying to identify the joint projects that could be there. In fact, there is already a number of investments, Polish investments in India. There is also, sizable presence of Indian companies in Poland that been there for a long time, mostly Indian BPOs, so big brands, big names, but also nowadays what is happening, Poland is recognized as a base for manufacturing. So we see interest from Indian manufacturing companies.
Right.
Growing interest in establishing factories and manufacturing plants in Poland. We are in constant touch with companies from both sides. We hope to have this year, this is one of the takeaways of the visit of Prime Minister Modi to Poland. We hope to have a joint economic group, or a joint working group on economic cooperation. So 2 deputy ministers from both sides should meet and discuss the different sectors and different areas of cooperation. In fact, as you said, trade deficit is there, but I think that the most important, assessing diplomatic relations nowadays or economic relations through trade deficit perspective, it's kind of an outdated way of looking at them. So world is becoming more and more complicated, and with the Prime Minister's Modi Made in India campaign, we are looking at ways to increase our investment here and investment presence, and this is the future. In order to be successful in India, you have to have a presence here.
That's right.
And it's not enough to have one manufacturing plant, as exemplified also by Polish companies. You need to have more. India is simply too big.
That's true. Coming to the defense sector, another major contributions and priorities for India and for Poland as well. And India and Poland have pledged, I believe, on a joint working mechanism and the joint working group on defense that could be deepening further now. So India's priority over the last few years has been Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Mhm.
You know, India first,
India
and
first.
how defense production in India, the capabilities can be increased. In that direction, how do you see enhancing the defense cooperation between India and Poland?
So in many ways we are very similar from this perspective, because there is a lot of modernization happening in Poland. A lot of, I mean, we are upgrading our industry, we're upgrading our defense sector. This is the same as it is happening in India.
Right.
In fact, we are one at the moment, I think it's not a mistake. I think I can honestly say that we are the biggest spender for on defense in terms of GDP in NATO, spending around 4% of our GDP on defense,
Right.
which is way more than other NATO members. Of course, there is a war happening at our border, and we border both India. We border both Russia and Ukraine. So there is an imminent threat. And from this perspective, there is also an urgency for upgradation. There is urgency for modernization, and this offers a lot of opportunities. Even though you know our neighborhood is neighborhood first policy that we're having, there is also, I mean, there's a lot of potential that we see in collaboration with India. We are already selling some of the Polish companies are present here. There's one joint venture currently operating in a drone sector in India, successfully delivered their products. And we hope that this joint working mechanism will open a new ways of discussing, offers new opportunities for discussion on defense cooperation, collaboration. In fact, you know, we also have a lot of experience in post-Soviet equipment,
Right.
Modernizing this kind of, and as we all know, this Soviet platforms are widely used in India also.
Also, there's a huge chunk of population in India of youth who often go to European universities to study. I'm sure between India and Poland also there are a lot of people, not just for studies, but for a large Indian diaspora working in Poland in different sectors. But on the level of the universities and collaboration on education, on research and development, are there more collaborations happening between universities in India and Poland?
Yes, I mean, first point is the first comment that I can offer is actually very right, saying that there is a sizable Indian diaspora in Poland. In fact, it's growing very rapidly.
Right.
Although, I mean, I have friends who've been living in Poland for last 15, 20, some even 40 years. They speak perfect Polish, and they are the best ambassadors of India in Poland and best ambassadors of Poland in India. Many of them were really eager and happy to meet Prime Minister Modi. So I was there during this meeting with the Indian diaspora. The energy that was there, you know, so much positive Shakti that was there was amazing to see. So the new trend that we are observing is, as you said again, is a growing number of Indian students pursuing their education in Poland. In fact, already, last year when I looked at the statistics, I was shocked to learn that Indians are the third biggest group of foreigners studying in Poland.
Right.
Of course, the gap between the first two and the third place is really huge. But this is again something that the country so far away has so much interest in pursuing this joint wanting to that so many people from far away are so interested in studying in Poland, and we hope to tap into this potential because this this way we are investing in the future, creating bridges again, natural ambassadors that would foster our relationship. That's first thing. Then there is, of course, research and innovation potential that is there. There are joint projects happening in different sectors. This projects are, I mean, business oriented or academic, research oriented. So they are not run by the government. But we are aware of different sectors in mining, energy, in medicine. So there is a lot of collaboration happening, and we could build on this, of course, also. As we, I tend to joke again that Jugaad is not only an Indian thing. So
I see.
So I think this creativity you will see it in Poland also.
Well, I hope there's an Indo-Polish Jugaad now, certainly helping both the countries. But on tourism front, tourism is another significant areas, both from India's perspective and from Europe as well. Speaking about Poland and India, how is tourism faring right now, both sides? And in particular, one of the concerns of Indians has been the visa regime, the Schengen visa as well. How would that be eased, perhaps in a systematic manner? I believe there have been some announcements in the recent weeks about the Schengen visa. But overall, how do you see some steps being taken to encourage more tourism?
First of all, tourism is very important, and in fact, I think it also serves as an important bridge between two countries. There is, because both Poland and India developed so quickly so fast over the last 35 years. There is a lot of ignorance vis-a-vis each other in both countries, and this is something that we have to work on. So there's a huge task for the Polish embassy to promote Poland in India. There's also a task for Indian embassy to promote India in Poland. Yeah. And we collaborate here because this is a two-way street. So nowadays there is a direct flight. Actually, there are two direct flights from Delhi and Mumbai that connect Warsaw with the administrative capital of India and business capital of India. So it's very easy to travel. It's actually, in fact, it's quicker to get to Warsaw than to travel to Masuri.
Wow.
So this is an incentive. I mean, another way of looking at this. Of course, it's more costly also, but there is a direct flight. There is an opportunity, and I hear from the business people, tourists, that they are using this and treating this as a way of getting to Poland. And also the other way, Polish tourists are coming to India with this flight. I'm of course aware of the concerns of the Indian tourists that they have might be created by a visa regime, Schengen regime in Poland. But I wish to assure everyone that there's no queue for Schengen visas in the Polish consulates for tourist or business visas in India. So you can easily apply for these two categories. There is no problem.
That's wonderful. On Indo-Pacific, we've seen India and Poland agree on a rules-based international order, and also we've seen a commitment on a free movement in the Indo-Pacific. How do you see the regional security challenges and India's increasing role in global governance?
Wow, where to start? You see, as I said, also alluded to, a world is becoming more and more interconnected, also more and more complex. We have the situation in Europe, Eastern Europe, or in the Pacific. These are not two. We can be seen as two separate theaters, but in fact they are not. They should be seen together as interconnected. And from this perspective, what is happening in Central Europe or Eastern Europe is of interest for India, and what is happening in Indo-Pacific is of interest for Poland. Being part of the European Union and NATO, we of course are interested in the global situation. European Union has Global Gateway, the Indo-Pacific strategy that designed to pursue its interests in both economic and security spheres. And there's also a lot that we've been discussing together about connectivity.
Right.
This is another aspect. So what is happening in Middle East also influences our both regions, our both countries. And this is something that will be on our agenda next year.
Right.
Starting in January, we will be assuming the presidency of the European Union. For 6 months.
Right.
We hope that this will be the time where the next EU-India summit will happen. There's a lot that EU leaders and Indian Prime Minister Modi should discuss and would discuss. There was no summit for a few last years, partly because of COVID. There are now, we have a new opening. India just headed elections.
Right.
There is a new commission in Brussels. It will take a few more months, but hopefully next year will offer us also a new opportunity in this regard.
Well, that's wonderful. One final question before I let you go. You've been here for a year, but you will continue at least for 2 years. You know, I would personally wish many more because of your contribution in the India-Poland and India-Europe Union, you know, bilateral and multilateral relations. What would be your top priorities? What do you want the India and Poland bilateral ties to be remembered by during your tenure here?
I think the Prime Minister's Modi is already one thing that our relations, I mean, I will remember forever.
Right.
And being part of that visit, witnessing, accompanying or welcoming Prime Minister Modi in Poland was a huge thing personally for me. But of course, but this was, again, half jokingly, I can say that this was an easy part.
Yeah.
Now it's a difficult part because we now have to, we signed a strategic partnership. We also adopted an action plan.
Yeah.
And as the name suggests, it's a plan, but it needs actions.
Right.
So now it's a very difficult time for, for hardworking grassroots work that we need to focus and look at different sectors, each sector, so that we identify opportunities, challenges. We try to remove the obstacles. We try to find new avenues for collaboration. As I said, next year we are looking forward for to assuming the EU presidency. This would be a huge challenge also here. Of course, the EU delegation is very active in Delhi, is very active, and the dynamic EU ambassador will of course pave the way. But our role would be to facilitate and support the EU delegation here. That's one thing. We also, some of high-level visits were discussed during Prime Minister Modi visit to Poland. So hopefully next year will also offer us for some opportunities for engagement. One of them being raising a dialogue that will be there in March. So we hope to have an important guest from Poland here. Let's see.
Well, it was a pleasure having you here at your residence here, the Poland ambassador's residence. And let's hope that from Prime Minister Modi's visit that happened first time in 45 years, I hope there's a regular contact and much more that is achieved in this relationship.
Hopefully.
CDA Sebastian Domżalski, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.